All right, hello, welcome to our lesson on inheritance. Today we are going to go over some multiple choice questions related to classes and inheritance. Sorry, I had that up there from a different year of teaching, but anyway, so you're going to need just pencil and paper, and you probably don't even really need Chromebook. You just need pencil paper. Sorry, this is old directions, but so you're just going to do some free response questions on paper, and then I'll kind of do them with you, and you can kind of check your answers against the answers I come up with here in the video. One other note about today's class, I had a hard time fitting some of these images all in one screen because there's so much code to look at for each question. So you're probably going to want to load up on Schoology. There'll be a PDF of the questions. So you can kind of load that up so you can have a better picture of all the question all at once. I'll try to fit them on my screen, but I'm going to struggle a little bit with that. So you can load that up and then start with this warm-up question. I don't think it's in that document, but just this warm-up sample free multiple choice question, because that's what we're working on. So try this one and then on pause to see the solution. All right, so we want to print out the numbers 1, 3, and 5. And we're going to start at 1 and go up by 2, so that's good. X is going to go 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, etc. Okay, and we want to put a while condition here. So if you go while less than 6, it would print the 1, 3, and 5, and then not the 7. So I think this one looks pretty good. While we're less than 6, and I would literally read these to myself. So this one goes while not equal to 6. So that's a problem because all of these are not equal to 6. So it's just going to go on and on forever. So that's going to be an infinite loop, which is bad news bears. And then while less than 7, I think that would work too because it would go 1, 3, 5, and then when it gets to 7, 7 is not less than 7. So it wouldn't print out the 7. It would just print out the 1, 3, and the 5. So I believe their best choice is going to be 1 and 3. Okay, so again, have that document loaded, and we're just going to go through them. So here's a good example of why I would load the document is here's the question, and then here's your multiple choice, but I can't fit them all on my screen. Okay, so pause the video and try to figure out what's going to be printed, and if you need to reference the multiple choice options, look at that PDF. So give this one a shot before continuing. Okay, so we've got class A and class B. B is a child class of A because it extends A. And so it really is a B object. Even though they do A over here as the type, when you make a new B, it's making a B object. So when I call show, it's going to do, show is basically in both of these, but it's going to do the one that's in the subclass because this one overwrites that one, right? So when I run the show, it's just going to do the print the B. Okay, so the right answer here should be just print B, which is letter B right there. Okay, next up, same type of question, right? We have class thing, and then we have thing 2 extends, thing 1, right? And you have to look at this code, all right? And so we're going to do calc of 2 on a thing 2, and so what's going to happen, right? So I'd pause the video, give it a shot before watching the solution. Okay, so again, it's going to run the calc in the thing 2. All right, so in thing 2, it's going to have calc with an input of 2, and basically it's going to add 2 to n, so n is going to be 4, and then it's going to call super.calc with a 4, and that is going to run the one up here, okay? And so this is going to pass in a 4 into this method, and then it's going to multiply that by 3 and print it out, so it's going to print out a 12 first. And then once this is done running, we'll jump back down because it's got one more print line here. And it'll print out n, which, you know, n is 4 back in this other method, right? Remember, it doesn't change up here unless you return it to the calling method. So down in this code, n was still 4. So it's just going to print out 12 and then 4, letter D. All right, just keep going. Pause on each question, give them a shot. And again, this is another good example if I can't fit all of this on here. So I would look, you know, out on that PDF for help. So this is kind of having to do with overloading methods. We currently have these three methods all named one, but we're okay because they have different signatures, they have different input variables. So it says which of the following methods can be added to the class without causing an error, basically. So you have to look at these method signatures and figure out which ones would not cause an error. Pause the video, give it a shot. Okay, this one is definitely going to cause a problem because it's got the same signature here. It's got the same name and a single int coming in. 2 should be good. All right, it does have a string and an int, but the order is different than this one, right? So again, if I was to call the method 1 with a 7 and then bubbles or something, it's okay because it knows which one to run, right? This one has the int first and then the string, so it would know to run that one. So 2 is just fine. 3 also should just be fine because it has 3 different ints and none of these have that signature. So 2 and 3 should be good, which I think letter D here. Okay. So 4 again, I'm gonna have a hard time fitting this on there, but we've got a student class that has a get major and get age to access these instance variables. All right, and then we have a list or an array list of these student info objects. Okay, and so we have this list accessible in this method. This is like a different class file, and we have a major coming in, and I think if we keep reading, maybe on the next page, what should we put for the missing code so that we'll compile without error? So basically, we want to sum up all the student infos that have a major that matches this input, and we want to figure out what is it, the average GPA for those students? No, what is it? Not GPA. Average age. We want to get the average age for that specific major. Okay, so you got to look at the code there and figure out what would piece together. So again, I would load that PDF because it's hard to get it all in one screen. All right, so just looking at this a little bit, it's populating one at a time into the student info K. Okay, so I'm going to have the name of the student info is going to be, the object name is going to be K, and then I'm going to call the different dot methods. Okay, so I'm definitely going to call get major and see if that equals this major, right? And then if it does, right, then I'm going to add to the sum that age. I'm going to add their age, and I'm going to increase the count by 1 so that in the end I can divide the sum by the count to get the average. Okay, so the right code, let's see, the major equals K, and this is not get major, right? I can't access major directly because that would be this variable, but it's private. Okay, so this is not going to work. The major equals K dot get major. That looks pretty good. Add the get age, right? And plus plus count. So I like this one. I'm going to check the other ones, but this one again, you can't access major this way. You don't have brackets when you do an enhanced for loop, so this one's out. And then this one is not calling get major correctly, so that one's certainly not right. So letter B is going to be the best choice there. All right, this one actually fit all on the screen, so give it a shot. We have a class, we have a private int called x, constructor is not shown. Which of the following is the correct header? Oh, so if we want to return that private variable, so it can be used in a class outside of here. So what would be the header, the method header? So you wouldn't want to make it private because then you wouldn't be able to use it. So it'd be one of the public, and you'd want to, probably return that int. So we need a return type. So these are out. These are with only C. Right? And you shouldn't need to pass anything in because we're just giving them access to this variable. So we just return that, and that would be pretty much it. Okay, 6. So I got some classes, and we've got 3 different private variables, my A, my B, my C, all ints. So here's get A and set B and all that. All right, so which of the following code would compile without error? So we know there might be a constructor, but I think these are the only methods Okay, and then we're making an instance of it. So which of these would not have an error? Okay, so I like A right off the bat, right? Because the object named at get A returns an int. It's public, that's okay. Right, this is not the right way to call get A because you don't pass in anything. You can't access it directly because it's private. This is the class name, not the object name, right? You want to use the object name when you do your dot method here, so that's not right. And then this is not at all the right way to call it, so letter A looks like the best answer. Okay, so this is the same. Again, this you're gonna have to load the PDF and look at it. Previous question. But which of the following changes to some class will allow other classes to access but not modify myC? Okay, so this is a private int variable. So how do you want to allow other people to have access to it? Pause the video. All right, so this guy is no good. You don't want to make it public. A public method's a good idea. I like this. I'm gonna think that's my answer, but I'm gonna check the other ones just in case. You don't want to make the method private because then they won't have access to it. You wouldn't need to pass in any variable, right? They're just returning it. And so both of these don't make sense for that reason. So B looks like the best answer. Okay, this is, again, I could not fit all this on here, but we've got two classes, a book and then audiobook is a specific type of book, right? So audiobook will have all the data and methods coming down from the book class. All right, and so let's see. It does overwrite the length method, it looks like. We've got pages per minute. We've got number of minutes because it's an audiobook, so how long it takes to read. So basically you can kind of study these two classes, right? And then this is a pretty hard question, but you have to look out of these lines, right? They're trying to do they're making an array of books and stuff. So you got to figure out which one of these is the correct statement. So yeah, there's a part that won't compile. One of these lines won't work. So study the stuff from this part. Again, you'll need the PDF and then see if you can figure out what's wrong. All right, I'm just going to go through one by one with you here. So line 2 will not compile because variable type of book may not reference variable types of audiobook. Okay, and I think that's okay because this is a parent class and then you can do parent class equals a new subclass. So that's okay. Okay, line 4 will not compile because type book may only call methods in the book class. So let's see letter B, line 4. So books position 0 dot pages per minute. And I think this is actually the right answer, right? Because if you make the type on the left here book, it assumes that these are just book objects. Even though you can put subclasses there, it doesn't know on line 4 if you did a subclass or a parent class in spot 0. So it's assuming it's just a book, which means you can't call the pages per minute method, right? Because that's specific to an audiobook. Right, so I like that so far, but I'm going to check the other ones just to make sure. Line 5 will not compile because the audiobook does not have a method named toString. Well, everything has toString. Actually, I don't know. Let's see, do I have a toString up here? Yeah, we've got one in the superclass, so we're definitely safe. I can't remember if object as a, well, we haven't done that yet, but we do have a toString in the superclass, so we're okay on that. Line 6 will not be compiled because it's ambiguous. Nah, so basically it's going to run the length method from book there because book has a length method and it's assuming these are books in here, so it'll run the length method up there, so that should be fine. Actually, I might have that wrong. That might run the one in the subclass. Yeah, I think that's actually going to run the subclass, but either way it has one, so it'll run one of the two, and I think it'll run the one in audiobook actually. Okay, line 7 will not compile. May have not been initialized, but we did initialize it right there, so we should be okay. So that one's not it. So I think B for sure is the best answer. All right, I'll make a video for the rest of the questions coming next. We're out of time. Thanks for watching.